the opposition has been formidable, really. If you think about it, when we established Prospera, who were we? We were a bunch of entrepreneurs, business leaders, um, and dreamers, optimists, builders, who thought, I mean, to be honest, I thought of myself as not naive, but I could see now that I was very naive because I really believed this is the greatest thing that's happened to this sort of this governance, if you want, in the last 100 years in our part of the world, because you have the actual opportunity to reform in a manner that's really helpful to people. My biggest surprise was how much different groups opposed it, from the business elites, the politicians. They opposed this thing, and there was nothing there, Max. I mean, it was a jungle, you know. So what are you opposing? Are you opposing us bringing millions and millions of dollars of investment, creation of jobs? What is it you're opposing? And so experience taught us what it was that we were opposing. And it's the different fears that people have, how that are in positions of power. How is this going to affect my power base? Is this going to make me less popular or more popular? Am I going to be able to run my business the way I've been running it? Is this indirect competition that I wasn't aware of? And so all these fears begin to materialize, and you don't even give the idea the opportunity to grow or see how the opportunity can serve you in your legitimate interests. So the opposition has been brutal to the point where a nation state became our opponent.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they opposed us really because they didn't like Prospera or the founders or the investors. I don't even think they opposed the general concept. I think what they opposed was the idea that this hadn't been promoted by them and that it had been promoted by the previous administration, which was their sort of their nemesis, if you want. So you get caught up in these dynamics that have nothing to do with you. Um, and you know, just give me one more. Doy, porfa, no me voy a aprender nada ahorita. All right, just don't want that. I don't want anything going on in the background. So you know, we had to develop a whole area of, we call it internally statecraft, which is just this expertise that meeting with different stakeholders, whether they're in the US or whether they're local, whether they're business, whether they're political, to state our case, make ourselves known, because there were some legitimate concerns. For example, what if these zones that are being created in this third world that's immersed in all this corruption, narco activity, what if these zones are taken over by, you know, transnational criminal organizations, for example? What happens then? So we needed to make sure that we became known entities, and you know, we've had to spend enormous amounts of money in areas that we never thought we would need to. Um, and now, as a matter of fact, now we know that we're gonna, no matter where we go, we're gonna have opposition, so we can better prepare for it. I think, Max, at the end of the day, I think two things have really, I know for myself, and I'm pretty sure for Eric too, and for the rest of the team, I think as well. You have to be a massive optimist, and you have to have a massive commitment to the vision of the world you have, way beyond the idea of just making a buck. You know, this is not about making money. If we make money, I want to make money because our investors have trusted us with an idea, and we have said we will return a really good investment. And so that's a motivation. I'd like to make money if I added enough value voluntarily to a ton of people, and that means that I can get a return too. But that's not my most important motivator. I want to see a world that, I think the world where it is needs a new jumpstart. And the new jumpstart, I think, is with a constellation of these types of zones around the world, which allow people to just get out there, build the future that they think is possible legitimately and ethically, solve the biggest problems of the world, add value to everybody else in a manner that's not compulsory, and just have a world that can be so amazing, which we're able to do. I mean, I think that's the most frustrating part, is that we can have that dream world. And in many ways, we already have it, but we can have more of that good stuff. Why not have more of that good stuff? And this is the conduit for that. It's, in many cases, it's the rehashing of the Hanseatic League, you know, and the Hanseatic League it's a really interesting period of history about the year 1000 to the year, I don't know, 1500, broadly speaking, where these cities with a lot of specialization and economic activity obtained commercial freedom for themselves from the ruler of the principality or their kingdom. And they were able to transact uh, in a manner that allowed for a massive amount of innovation and progress in the world. Why? Because the units were very small, very nimble. They could really compete, and competition drove all of these people to add more value. So that's my vision of the world. I think that we don't need. I think we can solve most of the problems we have in the world today through these types of jurisdictions, and even Mars. Thinking of Elon and SpaceX and what he wants to do in Mars. The governance question on Mars is a real important question because you don't want to replicate the institutions you have on Earth necessarily. You want better institutions. So even as we branch out into space, we need to think about these things.
Absolutely. And in thinking about that, thinking about, Elon, for example, wants to be known as the guy who helped colonize Mars or get humanity off planet to be a multiplanetary species, as he's
Exactly.
fond of saying.
Yeah.
And I sometimes think, oh, that's wonderful. And it certainly would be, a human achievement, the likes of which we have never seen. But but I also think about people like people who, work in these civil service jobs, and some of them get Nobel Prizes, um, and uh, and I think about people who are so unknown, like Bob Haywood, for example, whom you know,
Yep.
and I'll do my very best to remember to put the link into the description for an article about Bob Haywood. But I said something to the effect about Bob one time that he's done more to lift poor people out of poverty than any person alive today, and no one knows who he is.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And just because he helped gingerly guide people as a consultant to institutional change in places in the world that really, really needed it. We have right now this extremely toxic message in the United States about decenter whiteness or decenter European people and decolonize America, decolonize this. And the bugaboo, the devil, is settler colonialism, right? That has also happened to you, I'm certain, where the idea is that Prospera is just a neo-colonial,
Oh, yeah.
neoliberal project, and everything is a zero-sum game, and it excludes people and concentrates wealth. It doesn't create wealth. They don't even know what wealth creation is, but this is the narrative that holds sway. What have you
Yeah. We
what have
found
you
that.
done to counter that? And I'm quite curious about what Bob has done to counter that, frankly.
I don't know what Bob's done, but I do agree with you that he's an unsung hero in all of these things. Uh, he was there before a ton of us were. So he's been, and there are others as well. I mean, there's others. But I do agree that, it's just easy. If you think of human motivation, there's two things that really motivate you. There's a carrot and the stick. So the carrot is associated with these things that you want to see in the world, and the stick is associated with fear. And unfortunately, the stick is a lot more powerful motivator than the carrot. So people, when you play upon their fears, you don't need a lot of explanation to trigger somebody's fear. All you have to say is these guys are coming and they're going to take everything you have, and then you're going to be a lot poorer and you won't be able to, your family won't. And and it's all lies. Nobody bothers to check the data. Um, and so initially it was difficult because we didn't have a lot. It was a greenfield project. Real estate takes a long time to build. It's a multi-year. So how do we let people know that we're here trying to do good? And the only way to do that is to show them every day on the ground. So we're set up next to one of the poorest, most forgotten communities on the island, and we became the biggest provider of education, the biggest provider of jobs. But not not we weren't giving them things for free. We were providing value for value. They were providing value, a lot of value too. And you see how fulfilled people become when they push against something and it moves, you know. In this case, they could push against the adversity of their life and see how it became better for them. And then these stories begin to trickle out. And so these same people that are initially, many of them perhaps were neutral negative or negative, they begin talking positive. No, I have a job there. It's a great job. I've never had a job like this before. So there's these sort of concentric circles that sort of ripple out from the center. Every time we would have a negative piece, what would happen is we'd get requests for jobs from people. It's like people remember that, oh, Prospera, and we'd get a message, hey, do you have any jobs available? So it
Of
was
course.
really, it was really funny in that way. But I think we weren't as savvy um, on how to do that before. I think now we have a team on the ground that is a lot more savvy as to why get the word out. And just a really funny story. I had a client in one of my old businesses that used to say, you know why hens, I don't know how you say it in English, cockle, I guess, when they lay an egg? And I said, no, they want everybody to know, right? So that's the same thing with us. The good things that we do, they have to be good, but we also have to talk about them, because otherwise we'll get drowned out in the negativity and the fear. And I think we've pushed in that direction. I think more good news is going to come. Daily good news trickles out of Prospera. And I tell my friends in the region that look, Honduras is probably going to be the Singapore of Central America, and I just hope everybody else becomes the Malaysia, Indonesia, whatever, so that we need to catch up.